I've used the same format of meditation now for a number of years. It's sort of evolved. It borrows from scripture, but it also it also borrows probably from YouTube videos of various people. You can actually find it in full, the text of it in full, in the appendix of my latest book, E45. There is a link below, yes. It actually takes it takes up most of the 20 minutes I allow for meditation, but it does consistently bring me to a quiet state of mind. And one of the things that I find most helpful about it is I borrow a verse from Psalms, Psalm 46 verse 10 actually, which you will be very familiar with, which is, "Be still and know that I am God." The next verse, by the way, to put it in context, which I don't use, but just to sort of widen it out a bit, is, "I am exalted amongst the nations." So it's putting God, if you like, in his proper place, which is sort of the boss. Sounds a bit patriarchal, that, I suppose. But let's say worthy of exaltation to all nations, not just, I have to say, Christian or Jewish nations. Anyway, I digress. Be still and know that I am God. Well, this has naturally morphed in various ways. And this morning, it morphed into, "Be still and know this I Amness as God." And a profound calm and stillness and a mild joy, I would put it no stronger than that, sort of not so much descended as rippled out from the centre of my being, wherever that is, and embraced everything in a very calm, naturalistic way. No bells, whistles, lights. And this is an outrageous insight, realization. It might even sound a little conceited. Be still and know the I Amness as God. Well, of course, the conceit or the outrage is the idea that, what is this I Amness? Yes, it is the I Amness of God, whatever God is. Has anybody seen God? Just comment below if you've seen God, or can help me out with a more thorough description of the I Amness of God. But what we are all familiar with, of course, without exception, I suppose I am talking about human being consciousness here, probably with language, is we all know what it is to be I am. Now this is possibly difficult or controversial to digest, that we share the I Amness of God in our own I Amness. But it does strike me as plain and obvious at times that where else would the I Amness of God be located, embedded, at home, if it wasn't in this very sense of I amness, which you can hardly describe. You can't put this I amness under a microscope, although materialist neuroscientists do shoot fMRI scanners at the brain to locate this I amness. Oh,
Good morning.
all right, very on. Mr. Posty's come to join us on our little video story. The chickens gathered around the breakfast table. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do they have a sense of I amness? I don't think they do, to be honest. I mean, that's just an opinion. I have nothing against them having their own version of I amness, by all means, but it's a sort of I am birdness. Thomas Nagel, in his famous paper from 1979, I think, entitled "What It Is Like to Be a Bat," and he states the case that the only way we can truly describe what consciousness is by saying what it is like to be something. Now, in this case, a bat. I have no idea what it's like to be a bat. There's a presumption that batnessness is an aspect of consciousness. I don't disagree with that, but I don't quite follow the logic. Just as what it is like to be a hen. Is it restricted to animate living creatures? What about what is it like to be this lovely lapis lazuli flowering bush, whatever it is? My ignorance of trees and bushes and plants knows no bounds. But back to I amness, what it is like to be I am. Well, without trying to pin it down in words, I think you would agree with me that you just know what you're referring to when you talk about I am. It's effortless, unmistakable, doesn't go away, is incontrovertibly true when you say or begin any sentence with I am. You know exactly what and who you are talking about. So this, coming back to this morning meditation mantra, which is how I use it, be still and know that I amness as God, it seems to dissolve the boundary between me and God, shall we say, between subject and object, between physical and spiritual. Because, don't look now, but that chair that you are sitting on is not made up of particles, it turns out in the end. Whoops. No, really, I can assure you, if my YouTube videos that I watch have got any truth to them at all, there are no particles. There are only perturbations in the field, and there are different fields for different particles, electrons, neutrons, etc. You heard it here first, but of course we live day by day in the assurance that the chair will be there when we sit on it. So what are we talking about really? Be still and know that I amness as God. Well, this might help. I can point to a very provocative text or verse from St. Paul's writings in the New Testament. You will gather I am from a Christian by choice, not by birth, a Christian background, and I'm familiar with both Old and New Testament. And Paul says very provocatively and in the voice of a true mystic, it is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Well, what a thing to say. What an outrageous, conceited thing to say. But actually, it's the utmost humility. It's a recognition that this little me is not the real deal. It's just a sort of a vehicle, perhaps you might say, for the I Amness of God. And he says, lest you think I've gone crazy or I've lost my mind. On the contrary, this sense of Christ in me, the hope of glory, which he puts somewhere else. He says somewhere else, for we have the mind of Christ. Well, I don't know anything more mystical or provocative or soul-warming, if you can put it that way, than suggesting that we all have the mind of Christ. Who or what or wherever is the mind of Christ, it seems to me it would be illogical. It's not quite the right word. It would not join up the dots if that mind of Christ was not ubiquitous and shared. And to that extent, I think we can see, or we can join with St. Paul in daring to accept the possibility that we can share in the mind of Christ. Is this nothing but I Amness? There's something to chew on this lovely sunny morning with the girls, Nancy, Jennifer and Matilda. Until next time. I've never said this before on my videos. Subscribe. Please. No, that's a command. Please consider subscribing and liking, because the YouTube algorithm is very clever, but not if everybody's mute. See you next time.